Hey, Status D, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon. Click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Well, blood in, blood out. Also, please click on the notification just so you don't miss out on any amazing content. This is just a little bit about me. I've got a master's in economics and a 2-1 degree in psychology, so I've got a lot of interests and a little bit of experience and a lot of pies. This subject is actually quite sad though, what we're bringing up next. Anyway, we're going to see this man who's in a troubled stage of his life, and we're going to look at his kind of thought processing in order to kind of recognize what the title's talking about, being exhausted and wanting to give up on life. We'll see that. And I have seen it with some of my clientele going into the past. And if anybody knows of anybody, please take the time to reach out to them. Of course, this is a doctor, Dr. John Deloney. I know, or I suspect, that he, although he didn't do anything wrong, he would have handled this very differently. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't in this format of being on a radio call show. You know what I mean? He would have, I'm pretty sure, just let him talk and just listen. And obviously he hasn't got like an hour or enough time, whatever enough time is, in order to go through this gentleman's issues and give him the support and the guidance and the sounding board and everything that he would have needed. And I know that, and we all know that. And so you don't only have to listen to it from me, get it from other sources. Let's go.
All right, 45, married, 5 kids.
Oof.
Happily married, 1 kid, special needs, and he's work, very active with the kids, coach, doctor appointments, parent-teacher conference, definitely, all in, cook, I feel like I'm very active. I think my wife would agree. My problem is, and I want to say, hold on, I want to do thank you because your show, you taught me what anxiety is and how that can lead to depression.
Yep.
And so I was always thinking, I was like, well, I'm just a down guy. But I was really experiencing a lot of anxiety. So I thank you for that.
You got to.
I hear him, and I hear the accolades he's giving to this host. I think if this host knew at the end, and I don't know if he didn't have a clue about what the caller that was coming up, but if he knew at the beginning what he knew kind of at the middle and at the end, he would probably signpost him to support and just say, listen, I'm only a host. I'm only going to give you the briefest summary, but there are specialists out there who can give you the help you need should you need it, and make sure that you reach out, please. And you know what I mean, and not kind of let this moment pass us by. We'll see what happens next, but you'll understand why I'm talking, what I'm saying as this thing goes on.
Brother.
And
Thanks for listening.
And so I was I've been reading up on that. Well, anyway, and so I get down in the dumps I get anxiety because I suck at everything I do. It seems like I suck when I help out the kids. It sucks when I coach their teams. I suck at work. I suck when I make dinner. It seems like when I drive the car, my wife's always correcting me. And
he reckons he can't see as I said, he can't see. He's got a lens on right now. It's not going to take me to tell you, but he's got a very negative lens on right now, where his wife doesn't like what he does. That he's no good at coaching anymore. He started off kind of upbeat, 5 kids. Okay, yeah, 1 special needs, but he's getting the help that he needs. I'm married. I work. I coach. I cook. I help around the house. But all of a sudden, all these kind of key things that he's mentioned in his mind and his words are completely valueless, or his efforts are that valueless, and he feels like he's just not worth anything at all. And it's so sad to hear that, because it couldn't be more untrue. It could not be more untrue. We all contribute and everybody takes things from what we do, and sometimes we don't even realize it, and we set a very high standard for ourselves, and sometimes we get down on ourselves, but it doesn't mean that it was anything less than best effort. You know what I mean? We got to take that pressure, take that weight off our shoulders, and just realize that we do our best, and our best is going to have to be good enough. Anyway, this host is now, if he wasn't on it before, he's on it now. He's heard these key words, and he knows where this call is going, and he knows where these potential kind of vulnerabilities might be. I'm going to let him talk now and see where it goes.
I'm just worn out, and I just get like I can't think. It's always correcting me, and I'm just worn out, and well, anyway, so and so I get down in the dumps or I get anxiety because I suck at everything I do. It seems like I suck when I help out. I suck when I coach their teams. I suck at work. I suck when I make dinner. I mean, it seems like when I drive the car, my wife's always correcting me, and I'm just worn out, and I just get like I can't think. I look to the future, and I don't get excited about anything anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just, and I'm not like physically worn out. I'm like mentally worn out.
Yeah.
And I guess I get, and what really
mentally worn out, not looking to the future with any kind of optimism. He's not taking anything positive from anything that he's actively involved in any other day. You can see this kind of mindset right now. Let's go forwards.
gets me, just throws me for a loop is when like I got to go to like the latest test result on my child's cognitive disability and stuff like that, and I just hate those.
Yeah.
And I'm just like because during life we run, we play, we goof around, we go to the store, we tell jokes, and I get real angry, I guess, when someone puts it just kills me when someone puts a score on a piece of paper that tells me, or is supposed to tell me, like what he can't do or what his limitations are. And it takes me like about a month. And so what I started doing is and I get that something's wrong with me. And so I start writing down my concerns, and I start, charting them. So like,
I don't want to get past this because it's going to be very important. Okay, so he started talking about dissatisfaction. We want to know what's going on in his life which may well have brought him to this point. Okay, one of the things he mentioned was concern, which he expressed in terms of a dissatisfaction with other people putting sort of, I guess, scores on his child. I'm guessing, we don't know if it's a special needs child or what, you know what I mean? I don't think that he qualified that, but either way, one of his 5 children, and I say this is one of these things which is another reason for him to feel kind of take it all on self. He's taking on the burdens of the world as self, right now, and say he doesn't feel good enough in any regard. So these are the alarm bells that are ringing.
Diet and everything, alcohol intake, and I try to track, like, is there, what am I doing that may make me vulnerable to getting down?
Yeah.
And so changing my diet, changing workouts and all that stuff, changing what I watch, changing how much I read and stuff, changing how much sleep I get. But really what it is, I just feel like I'm never good enough in anything I do.
Yeah.
And my wife would say I do a lot.
Yeah. Who told you you're not good enough?
Well, just the feedback. I mean, as much as my wife asks me to do, once I do it, she's always telling me how I should have done it differently.
Okay.
Once to work, and I feel like I got to say yes to stuff, and I do, and I get over it, and I
think what he was asking then was just kind of like, what makes you say that you're doing anything wrong at all? You know what I mean? Is this all kind of in your head? And I guess just general feedback. I mean, we don't know how critical his wife was. You know what I mean? I think in a general day-to-day, you know what I mean, nobody's is walking on perfection. You know what I mean? So is there anything likely, or is there anything else up to this point which made us think that his wife was being in any way unreasonable? Because everybody's entitled to their point of view and a frame of reference, and it's just as I say, he's at a low point in his life right now. So let's see how this thing develops.
It's the product I put out, but it's like, I have to get it done. And then my kids, they're always, I didn't do this right in the game, or I should have done this, or I didn't want to go to the doctor. You didn't tell the doctor this, or I wanted this outfit and you didn't. It's like, oh God, it's just like, and I tell you, man, it's like, I know this is horrible. It's like, man, maybe one day I'm just going to like, get cancer or something, and I won't have to worry about this anymore. And so that's it. And so I need tips on like how to constructively, one, I think I need to, it's my thinking or the way I look at the world, and
Hold on.
I wonder what he was going to say. He said the C word. That's almost like he hasn't got any active plans of death. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. In terms of this journey, which is on the way down, he hasn't made any active plans that we know of. But I'll say the warning signs are all there. And he seems to think that things would be better when he's not in the picture. And I said, this host, he says some amazing line a little bit later about it. I'll wait until he says it, but it's along the lines of what would my kids think? My kids wouldn't think of anything if I wasn't even here. And the host says something along the lines of, well, they probably would be wondering about how they could never get to know their dad and why that was taken away. Something like that. It is not a selfless act at all. You will be doing damage to many. But he said all these things without saying it. That's why it was so clever. So clever. And I say I don't think we need to be extra clever in this kind of situation. It's about kind of fire management, but touche, Doctor, you absolutely nailed it with that. And I think it's that type of seeds of self-reflection which are going to change this thing around. Let's go.
Hold on. Number one is the bravest phone call I've received in a long time. What you need right now is not a new diet or a new program. My guess is you are real lonely, and you have been for a long time. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I move around.
This is the bit I don't get about the Doctor, though. I've seen this on this video and others. Why is he wasting time guessing things? Why are you wasting time? He's on the other end of the phone. He's on the other end of the phone. If there's something that you really wanted to know in order to qualify something, just ask him that question. Express that interest in him.
Oh, so I don't get a chance to have buddies.
So here's what I hear. I hear a guy the world is lucky to have, because you understand duty and you understand responsibility, and you've made it your life mission to serve those around you. And you've done all of that at the expense of you. And when you don't have deep-rooted relationships, when nobody's ever said, you know what, my life is better because of you. I'm so glad that I get to have Rick as my son. Nothing in the world.
Oh, I wonder where he was going to go there. I thought what he was going to say, on reflection, if you can cast back about these 5 kids that you brought into the world, the roof that you put above their heads, the food in their mouths, you send them off to school, they know they're loved and cherished, and they feel kind of, relaxed enough not to thank you for it, just like any other kids at that age. That's when you kind of know you're doing a good job. Well done to you, sir. Something along those lines. You know what I mean? I've just thought this up on the spot. I'm not saying it's perfect. I will definitely refine it. You know what I mean? If I was doing that job day to day, which I'm not. I am psychology qualified, but you know what I mean? I'm just talking from life experience, really. But this gentleman needs a lot of help, and I most certainly hope that he does get it.
Makes me happier than waking up knowing that Rick is my kid. Or you run to the bathroom and someone's paid for all the beers at the table. When you live life untethered, and this isn't a knock on you, this is the world that you were shot out of, you can chase all of the quote-unquote right things to do down. And you get to that moment when you're in your early 40s or your late 30s, and you just say, dude, I'm exhausted, I'm out. Because you're unanchored. It's like sprinting in the pool. You don't go anywhere, but you were just running. Who told you as a kid that Rick sucks? That's a message that life for a long time.
Here we go again. Okay, so listen, I'm at an undergraduate level of psychology. He's at a doctor's level. It's definitely a higher level. What has Rick said up till now, which has talked about anything about anybody insulting him as a kid? And again, it's like, listen, I know, I guess we're against the clock, so I guess that's the way it is. I'm not criticising John, because it's a very fascinating show, and two people are allowed to have 2 different points of view. Oh my gosh, and I think he is definitely amazing. I say that most of it. Anyway, why didn't he just ask him the question about his childhood a little bit and just try and put out these feelers in order to understand what was going on in John's life to lead him here? Because again, I feel like in a similar video, he's kind of putting it out there as a bit more than an inference. Like almost, John knows what answer he's expected to give. So he's searching around in his brain to think, oh, what answer can I give that fits what John wants to hear? You know what I mean? And I think that just annoys me to see it. I'm going to be honest with you. And anyway, let's see how he handles that.
No, I don't know.
You know.
Well,
Who told you that?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe life, life.
No. Somebody either told you that, hey, dude, you suck, or somebody never said anything.
Maybe in swimming. I don't know. I was trying to be a good swimmer.
Your folks were great.
They did the best they could. Yeah.
Nah, they don't need you to protect them.
Well,
they were awesome.
Okay, I think what John is doing, I'm sure he mentioned as a kid. He mentioned as a kid, he's trying to find this trigger, this kind of, where the foundation, the crack in the foundation lay. You know what I mean? Which brings him to this point as a man who has got this fundamentally kind of a low point of his life. Right? I think that's it, but it isn't always going to be rooted in children, in childhood. I know we're psychologists, we've got a psychology background, but sometimes just from life experience, things don't have to happen that way. You can experience trauma as an adult. You know what I mean? Well, I think, for example, I think a male mindset is just that kind of objective thought. And we will take on whatever's on the world, whatever in the world we'll take on our shoulders. And we know that our knees are being ground into the ground. I'm not talking to everybody, or just because it's the visualization of a lot of men. Probably a man who's got 5 kids, including one that's a special needs, and he's got to carry everybody's kind of hopes, dreams, responsibilities, everything on his shoulders, and he's getting ground into the ground, and it's just blinkers. Well, I've got to do it because there's nobody. I've just got to do it because I've got to do it. And then he gets to that point where he just, you know what I mean? Even this Hercules has got to take a dip. And that's where we are now. That's where we are now. I don't think there's anybody watching this who doesn't think that if he actually just kind of, with a little bit of objective thought, kind of came out of himself and just thought about how the role he's had in his family, about creating them and giving them this opportunity of life, and putting the roof over their head and everything that he's doing to try and make their lives as loving and as enjoyable. We already know he's a coach as well as working and a family man as well. You know what I mean? He actually puts in a shift at home as well. I think most people with a bit of objective thought, and he just needs to realize how great he is. You know what I mean? That's where he needs to be. And hopefully one of these days he'll find that soon.
I don't want to, everyone blames their parents' childhood.
Hey, we're not blaming anything. All I'm doing is just I want you to see that your moment in time right is something that you can absolutely steal from. And 2, I don't want you to think it is just I need to quit eating apples and start eating oranges. That this is a thread that's run through the tapestry of your life. And so let's do this. Don't have to talk about your folks, that's cool. But you and I, the thread's been there for a minute. And you started the call by saying how great your marriage is. It's not. And I've had seasons where
There's another inference there. Where did that one come from? I mean, in terms of perfection, I'm not married, by the way. In terms of perfection, whose marriage is kind of like tippity top tip? Perfection, at least some of the time, not all the time. As I said, John, ask those questions, man, in order to tease these things out a little bit. You are a very clever man, I've got no doubt about it, cleverer than myself in relation to that anyway. Tease these things out just so you're not kind of forcing these inferences on people, please.
With somebody who I know loves me, but I felt completely and totally on my own. That's loneliness, man. And you can roll your eyes and be like, bro, dude, it's not loneliness. I just need the right. It's not. What's on in your marriage, man?
You know what? The call knows what's happening here. He knows what's happening here. Just thinking what I want to say. What's happening here is that we are looking for scapegoats. We're looking for scapegoats here. You know what I mean? Nick hasn't mentioned anything other than that the pressures of life is what's got him down. That's what he's come here talking about. That's the things that's front of mind. But no, we're trying to make it fit something else. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking as well. Listen, as I say, especially if you've got a psychology background, do you agree with Nick? Listen, it's not that I'm not against Nick's line of questioning about childhood and this key relationships in his life. That's fine, but it's just this forced inference which I don't get. You know what I mean? And I say I know he's against the clock. He's on the radio show, but even given that, I think a little bit of inference, I could live with a little bit of a little bit of probing, a little bit of investigation. I could live with just a tiny bit and then make inferences from that to speed things up, but not to go straight to inference. That's what I'm thinking.
Look, I desperately love and need my wife, but I guess, she's also works, got kids, and is married, and probably stresses about, that stuff. But, I can't with.
Have to jump in there. He said, and she probably worries about these things. What does that mean then? She probably worries about all these things and special needs and all that stuff, is what he said, something along those lines. Probably means, probably not. Probably not. Maybe it's just very, very, very well hidden. So maybe she does. Probably does. Not definitely. He lives with this woman. That's grey. That's grey. And the other thing is, following on for what John was saying, which could have made an inference after that, unless he said something about his wife a little bit before. Now he's got an inference. It's either that she's not doing it or he doesn't know. And if he's not talking to his wife about their kids, that's a problem in their marriage, whether he admits it or not. Now we've got this inference to build on. There we go.
Stuff that she can't do anything about. So, I don't want to bring her down or something like, or just, I want to bring her up.
Listen, man, you're not going to bring her up by making sure the trash is out. You're going to bring her up by saying, here is all of me. And when you protect from herself and you hide parts of yourself, the parts that are dying on the vine, the parts that are in a black hole, she feels that she's not getting the full you. And you know what she does? She defaults to the things that she knows, which is picking and complaining and nagging and reaching out. That is her broken attempt to reach across.
Sorry. Nick ain't said none of that. Nick ain't said, that's what you saying, brother. That's what you. I think you telling us a little bit. You're telling us a little bit more about the household of Mr. Deloney than what you think. That's what I think. I think that Nick, and let me know your thoughts in the comments to say. Unless I don't know, and I'm not pretending to be 100% guaranteed right. I think that Nick he's not the kind of man to criticize his wife. I think that Nick's the kind of man, even if I'm not saying she's a worker just like him and she's struggling doing her best just like him for what he said. That's what I think. But even if she was, I think Nick's the kind of man that, listen, you got some more, just load it on up, man. He's carrying this mountain, load it up, man. Knees even further into the ground. Come on. Somebody's got to do it. I guess it's me. I think that's Nick. I know we've gone a little bit away from the core thing, which is where it started off, but I say we're drilling down now into these problems which may well have brought about this thing where even Nick is thinking, I can't cope. And somehow, even though they can't cope, is that I need to, nobody's going to notice even if I wasn't even here. They would.
That gap that she feels between the two of you. And she doesn't have the words to say, I'm not okay either. And so it comes out and pokes and prods and thises and what about that? And are you serious? And you double down with the thing that you know, which you've been told since you were 0, which is you're not a human being, you're a human doing. I believe with all y'all running a life with no margin, none. And I'm not talking about financial margin, even though that may be the case. Y'all may be stressed financially. It may be time margin. 5 kids is a lot in a house, especially with 2 working adults. That's just a lot. Season. And then somebody throws a grenade in the middle of your living room, which is a special needs kid, which takes extra responsibilities, which everyone's got some stupid opinion on. Everyone's going to tell you what happened and what you need to be doing. You should be doing that. You should be doing that. And then there's no margin. There's nowhere left to go. There's no relational cushion to fall onto. And so you both try to solve this problem in the ways that you've tried to solve every problem throughout your whole life. And what I'm trying to ask you to do is this. That's not working. So try something new. And you are not a burden, Rick. Your hurt is not a burden. Exhaustion is not a burden. It's a gift. And that's what she signed up for. And that's what you signed up for. And by the way, she's burdened too. And I'm with you, man.
Lost me there. Just trying to process that. So his exhaustion is not a burden; it's a gift. I know that he's having to think on the spot. So you know what I mean. I'm gonna leave. Maybe I'll just let it go. I think his exhaustion is a commendation. Is a good thing to him that he bears it up basically, and he plods on and he just does what he can, and there's nothing to actually say he's doing an awful job. The fact that people are complaining just a little bit and not falling out, you know what I mean, just falling all to the wayside like kind of swoon. I think that says a lot really, and he needs to look at his achievements and just take pride. Just take back one by one, a kid at a time, warts and all, and the house and everything, as I said, and looking back over the other problems that he didn't think he'd get through and that he did. Take some pride. Take lots of pride. Anyway, let's go forward.
And if there was a season, if I got one more test or one more call on one of my kids, I was going to lose my mind. And I don't talk about that stuff publicly. And finally, my wife and I said, we know this kid better than anybody. And we still have support resources and all that. But I tell you what, it's when we flip their head, just like you're talking about, that things did get better. And I don't know what the disabilities with your kid, that's a whole other phone call. But the key there was my wife and I were together on that. And what I can't recommend strongly enough, dude. You sound like it. Like, what do you?
Engineering.
Okay. This is going to sound so cheesy and so ridiculous, and I'm a lifelong Texan too, man. So I'm just speaking to the choir here. You're a guy who solves problems. You're a guy who looks for what is broken, and you fix it, and then you move on. And what I'm telling you is this is not a matter of something being broken. This is something different. This is something that needs healing from the inside out. And unfortunately, that healing doesn't start with lifting heavier weights. This healing starts with you grabbing both of your wife's hands somewhere and saying, exhausted. And I have been honest with you for a season to do.
Apologize. I know we've got the what do you call it? Like the what's it called again? The subtitles on the bottom. Gosh, yeah, definitely need those switched on. I've got no idea why the audio's getting worse. Hopefully it will sort itself out. It wasn't too bad earlier, so hopefully it won't be too bad in about a second from now. We will see. I will try and go back at least 10 seconds, and then we'll try and pick it up. Hopefully it'll be better. Sorry.
Boy, she doesn't know what to do. We got 2 people that don't know what to do.
That's the guy who's trying to fix it like this is an engine, and it's not. Then what you do is you both smile and go, we've got a new adventure ahead of us. And what I will tell you,
like the way that he got suckered into that trap. What job do you do? What job? I'm an engineer. Yeah, well, you got to take your hands, and you can't solve this like an engine, you know, being an engineer. How's about, we work in an imperfect society. We work in an imperfect society. Yes, medical professionals who got trained beyond what we can do ourselves, because we can't be a master of everything. We speak to them, we take on their advice, we follow it the best we can, but most of all we use our eyes and our ears and our intuition. And that's all we can do. And as long as we've done our best, given what we have and what we were blessed with, in terms of our intellect and, as I say, just what we think we know, that is all we can do. And please do not let that pressure crush you. Because if you've done all you can at the end of the day, that's all that you could have done. And then we go forwards. There we go.
If you will submit to that, that's the word vulnerability, brother. That's rolling over and saying, I could get hurt in this. But me not being honest about how much I'm hurting, how much I'm drowning, trying to keep everybody around me happy. Do you even like being an engineer? Have you ever asked yourself that question?
No.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. I'm too beaten. I mean, I can't even think about that stuff anymore. Life happens.
It does. It does. But you know who else happens? Rick. How come you've given up on Rick?
I don't think about that. I don't want my kids years calling into a radio show like yours, complaining that their parents didn't do this or their dad didn't do that. I mean, that's.
They won't. You know what they're going to call in? They're going to call in and say, I never knew my dad. Always knew that dad wasn't happy. And I've spent my life trying to figure out what it was about me that he wasn't happy.
Okay.
You nailed it, John. I forgive you. I mean, listen, you're the doctor. I'm not the doctor. You know what I mean? You know better than myself. You know what I mean? But you nailed it. Honestly, I think if there's one reason he had to call into this show, and let me know in the comments if you disagree or if you agree. If there's one reason he had to call into this show as a man, especially if you're men in there, because as I say, we think, slightly different. I'm not saying everybody. If you can understand, you can appreciate, absolutely fine. But I think definitely as men, we all understand that we look at things in a particular lens. And what John did right then was took away this excuse, again, that people will not be hurt and nobody would notice if you're not there. And he went into the minds of his 5 kids and said exactly how they will be thinking should you not be there, Dad. That is in him, obviously. My dad's still around. That was a beautiful, I'm going to rewind on that. That was a beautiful mic drop moment. I'm so proud I'm so happy that may be that vital thing that you did in the whole of this time on this show. I'm glad he called in and I'm glad he gave this advice. And I thank you at the bottom of my heart, John.
I mean, that's.
They won't. You know what they're going to call in? They're going to call in and say, I never knew my dad.
I don't want my kids 20 years calling into a radio show like yours, complaining that their parents didn't do this or their dad did. I mean, that's.
They won't. You know what they're going to call in? They're going to call in and say, I never knew my dad. And I always knew that dad wasn't happy. And I've spent my life trying to figure out what it was about me that he wasn't happy.
Okay.
The greatest gift you can give your kids is to be true to yourself. And not in some, I'm going to quit my job and join the theater and run away into a circus. That's what I'm talking about. The greatest gift you can give your kids, let's look at a quarterback, dude. The greatest gift a quarterback can do games and heal his knee. If he keeps running around on the field and saying, dude, I'm a quarterback, I got to be here, he plays not great. And then that knee gets worse, the team doesn't do as well. And it's better for everybody to stop for a second and get well. And you've got to take your engineering brain off. And if you can't, that's totally fine. You got to sit down with somebody who doesn't have an engineering lens, who's got a healing lens. And I can hear it on you, man. You know this is the right thing, but you also have 45 years of, this is the way we solve stuff. You grit your teeth and you suck it up and you go get it done.
Yes.
And I'm with you on that. And if you look at our country, this is year number 5, suicide and organ failures, like lung disease and failure.
Again, towards the end, I don't know what is going on with the sound. I'm going to go back a little bit, just see if we can kind of solve it. Maybe we can, maybe we can't.
And if you look at our country, this is year number 5 in a row where we are dying younger in the United States of America from diseases of despair, addiction, suicide, and organ disease failures, like lung disease and liver failure. We are playing a long tail suicide And this grit your teeth and smash it and pull yourself up and solve it is getting us nowhere. Got us a lot of really shiny toys. It's also got a generation of men just like me and just like you. And brother, I'm speaking to the choir here. I had a 4-hour meeting with a doctor this past Saturday, and it was hard because he looked at my genetics and he looked at my blood. It's the most invasive blood test I've ever been a part of. I'm going to do a special on that in the new year on it. And he said, if you continue to live like this, it's going to be a short ride. And he was looking at my genetics. I couldn't deny him. But he could look at my blood and say, you're not okay. And I'm a guy who tells people what to do for a living. So I'm speaking to the choir here. Okay?
Right.
I need you to hear me when I say this. You, Rick, are worth having your home be a safe place. You, Rick, are worth a good night's sleep. You, Rick, are worth getting home and your wife gives you that side eye, dude, and you know it is going to be on. You are worth getting home and going, I don't even know what to say to that kid. And your wife going, I don't either. And you're worth a 9-year-old rolling their eyes at you and it doesn't ruin your soul because you don't suck at everything. I refuse to believe that. I think you're exhausted, man. And I think you're absolutely, just totally alone. And I want you to solve the relationship, and it's going to start with you and your wife. And I'm going to be real honest with you, brother. I think you need to call a counselor and say, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm an engineer. I just know that the way I'm trying to solve this puzzle hasn't been working. And that, my friend, is the greatest gift you can give your incredible 5 kids. And when it comes to your special needs kid, you're exactly right. Don't let anybody tell your kid he's less than. He's broken. He's dumb. Laugh. Take him with you. Enjoy your life. Raise that kid and let him know he is loved, loved, loved. And accept the services that are necessary. But don't let him dictate your life. Rick, this is the bravest call I've had. I'm grateful for you. I dare you to take your wife out, hold her hands, look across the table and say, I'm exhausted and I'm sorry. I don't know what to do next. I dare you to go.
Don't know about that though. I was just about to wrap it up, man. Wrap it up, John. His wife also works. The reason why I say that is because his wife also works. Okay? She's got exactly the same pressure as what he's got. So that's another reason why he feels like he can't burden her anymore. What's the point in her burdening her anymore? What's the point in, him burdening her anymore? They're both carrying exactly the same weight. So how could it make any sense to draw her into the ground? You know what I mean? In terms of maybe he feels... And what's the point in her giving him anymore? There you go. Listen, John, I'm going to hear it right to the end, just in case, but I don't think I agree with that one. Sorry.
A counselor in Houston. I dare you, friend Ken Coleman's. In fact, we'll send it to you for free. His career assessment. What do you actually want to do, man? And by the way, my mom started going to college. She was in her 40s.